So very good morning and welcome to the session. So of course, we have been trying to do chapter 15 for the past two classes, but I think last class was excellent. I mean, last week, yeah, I mean, I was not able to conduct the session this Friday because interestingly, for the information of all of you, I had gone to Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai is where you
अच्छा,
have the ashram, Ramana ashram. I had gone
yes,
there and
Ramana Maheshri
I
Ashram.
was I was there on the first. We left on the first, second, and third. I came back on Friday evening, so it was a wonderful, um, stay at the ashram. Not at the ashram itself because right now they don't allow any accommodation. You can only visit the ashram in some specific hours. So we were staying outside, but I think it was a very good pilgrimage, I would say. So I'm back from there. So we
कैसा
are
है?
now. Huh?
राज कैसा है? मैं सोच रहा हूँ जाने का, मतलब बहुत दिनों से सोच रहा हूँ, लेकिन I think this is the time
No,
now.
you must go, you must understand and go in the sense that, it's a very small ashram. I mean, there is nothing that people do other than sit in the Samadhi room, the place where Ramana's, body is buried. And then there are two halls. One is the old hall and other is the new hall where he used to sit and just sit there, that's all. Anybody who asks any question, he used to respond back. Otherwise, he used to simply keep quiet. So he spent 50 years doing only that, sitting and keeping quiet. So his main teaching is silence. So if you go to the Samadhi hall, there you will definitely, when you enter and when you sit down for meditation, you will feel something for sure. Even if you have not read anything of his or you are not, very great devotee of his, you will feel something. But obviously, if you have read about him and you understand more about his philosophy, his methods, then the feeling is more. So I had some 4 meditation sessions there because the ashram is open from 8 to 11 in the morning, from 2 to 5 o'clock in the evening. Okay. So we went on the first. We arrived only at 11:30. So on the first, we went for the 2 to 5, uh, you know, opportunity. So 2 to 5 on first, then both the opportunities on second, and 8 to 11 on the third. So basically, we had 4 sessions where we simply sat there. And, there's amount and a great amount of peace when you sit there. That's my immediate feedback. And then the whole ashram is at the foothill of a hill called Arunachala. Now, Arunachala hill is taken to be the physical manifestation of Lord Shiva. So there is a practice of doing pradakshina of the hill, which is a total distance of around 14 kilometers. Of course, people do it early in the morning barefoot. Now, I didn't do all that because I wanted to be. So we just motored over the entire. Motoring 14 kilometers on empty road doesn't take too much of time. But even the hill is a very great source of lot of. So basically, it is all quiet spiritual energy. There's not much of talking. There's really nothing in the ashram per se other than the spiritual presence of Ramana. So there is no lecturing, there is no participation in satsang, nothing at all. You simply go sit in the hall, you see how much you can absorb, and then everything depends on your capacity to absorb. In fact, I was just writing something from what one of the devotees, and then we'll get started. So I'll just read out that particular paragraph to you. It's called. So I'll tell you, it is really worth going there, the quest. So he says, one thing must always be remembered that whatever the Maharshi's grace, which is the grace of God himself, one could and can receive it only according to one's capacity to receive it. There is no dearth of grace, but only of the capacity to receive and benefit by it. Christ said, knock and it shall be opened. It is no less true that God's grace is always knocking at the door of our hearts And it is we with our ego and our thoughts and our desires who barricade the doors of our hearts and prevent it from entering and doing its work. God's grace will work wonders if we surrender ourselves completely into its hands, surrender utterly and not without reservations of all sorts. The surrender that many of us make is half-hearted. God, Guru, and Self are declared by the Maharshi to be one and the same. If we put our trust entirely in any one of these, we are safe. If those who went to the Maharshi in thousands did not benefit equally, it was not because of want of grace on his part towards any of them, but because of their varying degrees of capability to imbibe and benefit by his grace. As Ramana Maharshi himself once said, the grace of the Guru is like an ocean. If the disciple comes with a cup, he will only get a cupful. It is no use complaining about the niggardliness of the ocean. The bigger the vessel, the more he will be able to carry. It is entirely up to the individual. So if you read a lot and do a lot of japa and come, then you can receive more. If you simply come as a casual visitor, then you get certain amount. Utna hi milega jitna aapka dil hai. So anyway, so that was, I thought I must share that with you.
Good summary.
Okay, so now let's go to, wait a minute, I'm going to share screen now. And we will take up to 15th chapter, and here we are. Okay. Yes. So coming to the 15th chapter, it is an interesting chapter. It is again one of the shorter chapters, like the 12th chapter, which had only 20 shlokas. This is also a chapter which has only 20 shlokas. The ritual significance is that sannyasis are supposed to chant this shloka before their lunch, either their lunch or their dinner. I mean, before any meal of theirs. So that's because it's easy to remember. I mean, for sannyasis, it's of course not a matter of easy to remember or difficult to remember. It's a duty of theirs. So why is this chapter deemed to be important? It's deemed to be important because it presents a way. Now, if you recall in the previous session, we had made a reference to the hierarchy of Atma, then Buddhi, then Manas, then Prana, then Indriya and Sharira, each in the descending order, the topmost being the Atma. Now here we have another simile, another metaphor, another comparison, and that is with a tree, Ashwatha tree. So when we look at a tree, and tree is the very basic form of life. It's plant life, and only after plant life do you have animal life, and after animal life you have human life. So human beings are at the top of the grouping of living creatures with consciousness, because even an earthworm and insect can move, but a plant cannot move, and therefore the plant represents the lowest level of life. So certain comparisons have been made with a plant, of course a grown plant in the form of a tree, and the tree in particular is the Ashwatha tree, which is called the people tree. Now various religions have various trees as sacred from the point of view of their religion. For example, the tree which is the oak tree is very, very important for the Celts. Celts are the very original inhabitants of United Kingdom, not United Kingdom, England, you can say. And the Celtic religion has more or less been wiped out because it was obviously pre-Christian and obviously non-Christian, and therefore it got wiped out. So for them, oak is important. For the Germans, the lemon tree is important, and for the Scandinavians, that is Norwegians, Danish, and Swedish, the ash tree is deemed to be important. Now the question is, why is the tree taken to be important? We'll first look at what the shlokas say, at least the first 6 shlokas, because that is where the tree has been described. So let me very, very quickly take you through the first 6 shlokas. Basically, talks about the tree, and it talks about the tree being upside down. Now, when we normally think of a tree, we think of it grounded with the roots underground. But here the tree is very, very interestingly defined as Urdhva Moolam. Yes, that's the very first shloka, saying that the roots are above and branches are below. And then, given the imagery of the tree, there are various parts of the tree which have been given certain spiritual equivalents. So the leaves are called the Vedas, and the branches are there below and above, in the sense that if you take an ordinary tree, the branches are above the ground. There are very few trees where the branches also penetrate into the ground. They are called aerial roots. So the banyan tree is one of them, but this is the people tree. But then in the visualization of the people tree, it is also taken that the branches are not just there above the tree, but of course, when you visualize this tree, we are apt to get confused because the tree is upside down, and therefore, what do you mean by branches above and below? Best way is to visualize the tree in the actual order, which is it's buried underground, and then there are branches above, and some of the branches are trailing from the tree, and they also penetrate into the ground. The other name for that is aerial root, as I said. So it then speaks about trying to understand the tree. So how is a tree understood? The first thing that we understand from the analogy of the tree is that the roots of the tree are not immediately seen. So immediately the roots of the world are, of course, Brahman, the supreme. So the roots represent, and the reason why the tree is mentioned to be upside down is, at least for a human being, when you say Brahman, it is always seen to be as a part of the sky, somewhere upward. And therefore, you have the roots which are represented as being upward. And the trunk and the branches are the material world. So to put it very simply, in the language that we learned in the 13th chapter, which is Kshetragya and Kshetra, the trunk of the tree and the branches of the tree and the leaves of the tree are all Kshetra. And the roots of the tree are Brahman, or that is Kshetragya. So there's a correlation between, but of course, Kshetra and Kshetragya was more limited in the context of a human being. But also, if you recall, Bhagavan had said in the 13th chapter that he is the Kshetragya of all the living creatures, of all the Kshetras that are there, he is the Kshetragya. So in that sense, there is a great similarity between the description of the tree and the reality of Purusha and Prakriti, Kshetragya and Kshetra, Paramatma and Jivatma. These are all the cross connections we make. Now, what does the meaning Ashwatha tree mean? It means a tree which is not the same every day. So every day the tree changes because it keeps shedding leaves. It's like the river. While the river is there flowing all the time, yet it is not the same water which flows all the time. And therefore, the tree is taken to be like samsara, because samsara does not change all the time. So this is the broad imagery. I will read from one or two people who have described this rather well, because understanding why the tree analogy is used is an important aspect of getting to understand the chapter. So he says, and I'm reading from Professor Ravi Ravindra, who says, the tree of life is called the Ashwatha tree here, which is a fig tree. Its roots are above in Brahman, its branches are below in Prakriti. This tree is also mentioned in the Kathopanishad. And quote, this is from the Kathopanishad, with roots above and branches below stands this ancient Ashwatha tree. That is pure, that is Brahman. That indeed is called immortal. In it all the worlds rest and no one ever goes beyond it. This verily is that. Like the banyan tree, its roots extend from its branches, extending both downward and upward. The manifest world is dependent on the unmanifest world. Okay. The Ashwatha tree represents the whole aspect of creation, which is the centrifugal force. So in other words, the roots of the tree are taken to be the source, and centrifugal force means everything is pushed out. So the entire samsara, the jagat that we see, is pushed out from the central core, that is a thought process, which is the most important thing that we have in the first 6 shlokas for us to understand. Now, the 7 to 11 shloka, I think we had made a reference to that in the last class, where very clearly the how the Jivatma arises is mentioned. So it says very clearly, and I'm going to read it out. So 7 to 11, it says, Mamei Vansho Jivaloki, 15.7 to 15:11 says very clearly. I'll not read the Sanskrit part of it, I'll just read the English translation. A fragment of myself becomes the Jiva in the world, attracts to itself the 6 sense organs, including the mind based on Prakriti. When Ishvara takes the body and also he leaves the body, he takes these 6 organs and departs like the wind takes the scent and goes away. Presiding over the ear, eye, skin, nose, tongue, that is all the indriyas, he enjoys the sense objects so long as he is in the body. The extremely deluded person does not understand him and thinks that he is separate. With effort, yogis do see him dwelling within themselves, but unenlightened persons, being devoid of wisdom, even if they strive, cannot see him. So 7 to 11 basically is giving us a picture of the Jivatma, whereas 1 to 6 is giving us a very, very broad picture of Paramatma and how Paramatma and Prakriti are linked together. And here the same Paramatma becomes a Jivatma, and that is what is mentioned in terms of. So it's like saying microcosm and macrocosm, which is the term that we normally use there. Then we have 12 to 15. So what is 12 to 15? Let us look at 12 to 15 because it is in continuation with the ideas given there. So basically it talks about the power of the Paramatma. So the shlokas say that the power of Paramatma is like the light of the sun. It is that which gives power to the moon and to the fire. And then it is a power of the Paramatma that supports all human beings. It gives the sweetness to juice. It gives life to plants. And then there's a very famous 14th shloka which talks about digestion. So what does the Atma do in sitting in your body? Okay, not only it regulates the functions of all the organs, but here is the shloka, and I'm going to read it. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. It is for the 14th shloka, which I'll translate just now, that the sannyasis are required to read all the shlokas before meal. So what does the shloka says? Having entered as a digestive fire, Vaishvanara is a digestive fire, into the bodies of living beings and uniting with prana and apana, which are your inhalation, exhalation, life forces, I digest 4 kinds of food. There is an ancient Ayurvedic classification of 4 kinds of food: that which you swallow, that which you suck in, that which you bite, and that which you grind. It's a classification essentially indicating that all the kinds of foods that human beings have, unless there is the presence of the Atma, digestion cannot happen. So in other words, if the body is dead, and then even if you put food inside the body, it is not going to get digested, because obviously the digestive capacity is a very, very strong indicator of the presence, because food is an important aspect of life. Consciousness and food, anna and prana, are very important. You will find a lot of this in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So awareness, Satchidananda, and annam, your ability to eat food is also, it is only living creatures that need food. Plant needs food, insect needs food, animals need food, humans need food. And therefore food is taken. That's why in the Taittiriya Upanishad it says, Annam Brahma, that is, God is Brahman, and you should not waste food at all, is the injunction given there. So that is basically looking at row 3. So we looked at row 1, we looked at row 2. Again, coming back to row 1, there is one more interpretation which may interest you, which is the the upside down tree is also taken to represent the spinal cord. So the brain is all the fibrous, you have two kinds of trees, if you recall your botany. One is fibrous root, another is taproot. Taproot is one long root which goes in very deep, whereas fibrous root is a bunch of roots like a network. So if one were to have I don't know, I'm sure that the Ashwatha tree has fibrous roots, I'm not sure, but even if it does not, we are required to imagine that it has, and therefore if we imagine that to be the case, then the fibrous bunch of roots you find is like our human brain, and then the trunk of the tree is like a spinal cord, and the branches are our various limbs and various nerves. So and obviously it is your limbs and your sense organs which are in touch with the world around. Your brain by itself cannot understand anything. If you simply place a living brain, it cannot understand anything. It can only process when it has got inputs from the world. And therefore, the interface between the brain and the world lies through the sense organ. And we again come back to what was mentioned in the 7th to the 11th shlokas. Then we finally come to the last 5 shlokas, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And here, in the words of Aurobindo, is a very unique contribution of the Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Bhagavan says that if you look at the world, one is Purusha and Prakriti, but then another way of classifying is Sharak Purusha, Akshara Purusha, and Purushottama. So there is a part of nature which is also called Purusha, but technically you're not supposed to call it Purusha, but anyway, that is the terminology. तो जो आपका जो प्रकृति है उसको क्षरक पुरुषा भी बोलते हैं, in the sense that it can get decayed. Obviously, Prakriti will get decayed. Then you have Akshara Purusha, which is what we talk about. When we normally say Purusha, we mean Akshara Purusha, which is there within us, because that does not die. And the boss of all the Akshara Purushas is Purushottama. So this is aligned more in the Bhakti sense, because Purushottama is like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the terminology which is used in ISKCON. So this is a unique contribution saying that Purushottama is the driver of Akshara Purusha and Kshara Purusha. So the hierarchy is Purushottama on top, Akshara Purusha after that, and Kshara Purusha after that. So that's the way we need to understand chapter 15. So it's basically, the interesting aspect of the chapter to my mind is the Jiva. It's the first time he says that I am entering into the human body, and also says how Paramatma exits the human body and what he takes with him. So if you are very keen to understand the birth process and death process and how we develop samskara, there is a very clear description given here. So that is the 15th chapter in a nutshell. I will look at 1 minute. So we will look at the summary, and then we will have a discussion on this. So the point being made here is there is only one source of eternal energy, which is the root, or which is the Brahman. There is only one source of eternal intelligence. So all the intelligence we have is a fragment of that eternal intelligence. That source can be experienced within ourselves by clearing our bosom of clutter. So this is, in a way, the brainwashing aspect that we were joking about earlier on today. Ego-coated pride is painful in the end, right? So the more egoistic you are, the more you think you know everything, you will find yourself to that extent falling more. Then again, this is a point that
पीछे जहाँ बैठे हैं ना एक डैशबोर्ड टाइप का वहीं रख दे। हाँ जहाँ पे जगह हो वहाँ रखना।
It's 12 o'clock.
दीपक प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए।
Yeah. I have muted him, that's fine. Okay. So the next thing, and of course we have come across this phrase earlier, wild desires. So we must not have wild desires. And that has been something that, has been mentioned quite often by R.S. Tiwari. Then perfection, point number 6, perfection can be accomplished by abandoning delusion and bondage of passion. So once you know that you are a part of the Supreme, then you also start behaving in a more responsible way. Life in the world is a ray of his glow, his expression, contemplate on the whole. So if you are an amsha of the Paramatma, then you are also endowed with the capability of Paramatma, but your ego will limit your ability. So your devotion, your reduction of ego, your alignment to jnana, all these things can fuse together and you can attain to greater heights. Our karma, this is point number 8, our karma, including the essence of our acts, ego, intellect, mind, and desire, move after death along with the jiva in the form of subtle energy and get implanted in the other womb suitable for expression. The cycle of indestructible energy goes on transmuting from one to the other. So that's why it's called Ashwatha tree. The tree looks as though it will not get destroyed. So the moment we keep having desires and desires, we will move into the next birth for fulfillment of the desire. So is that good or is that bad? It all depends on how we define. For example, Kunti Devi in her prayer said she should have only trouble in every lifetime of hers because only then she will remember Lord Krishna. So she prayed that she should be reborn. And in every birth of hers, she should have to face difficult circumstances because under those difficult circumstances, she would definitely remember Lord Krishna. So she was not praying for this birth being my last birth. So the point is that we can also pray for continuation so that we remember the Lord. It all depends upon how our vasanas direct us to think. Then we have point number 9, which is the second last point. It is wise to recognize his manifestations in the world. Yes, there are a lot of things that happen. So including the food you digest is a consequence of the presence of the Lord. And finally, by knowing the cosmic system, choosing one's individual path, learning the ideals of those who have attained the truth and established oneself in the higher state of divine knowledge, nothing remains unknown. So the thing is that once you know all these things, you are aligned and you will not fight with nature. You will align with nature and you are better off because you know when your thoughts are aligned and when your thoughts are non-aligned. When they are not aligned, you are likely to land up with misery and trouble. When they are aligned, you are likely to be very happy. So anyway, so the final sum and substance is the world is only the ray of supreme glow. Can you think of the totality? So this is mame vansha, mama eva amsha. I'm only one amsha. But when we start understanding not just the ray, but the whole sun. So let's open up for discussion in terms of any questions that you would have. So anybody can ask a question. So,
ये जो तिवारी जी के पॉइंट्स थे जो आप डिस्कशन कर रहे थे, इसमें तिवारी जी ने एक बात लिखी है, रामशंकर तिवारी जी आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ, बॉन्डेज ऑफ पैशन रिमूव करने की बात कही है उन्होंने। कि हम लोग कॉमनली जब किसी को मोटिवेट करते हैं तो ये कहते हैं कि भाई पैशनेट हो गए तभी तो वो सही तुम्हें मंजिल मिलेगी, बिना पैशन के कुछ नहीं होता है। तो ये थोड़ा सा कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग बात लग रही है।
ये तो अंग्रेजी का कमाल है सर। So when we say there are actually two meanings for the word passion. One passion is the one where you're being very selfish, where you're being negative, where you are being where you are getting more and more into the net of further desires. Okay. The other one is when you work passionately, it means to work with enthusiasm, to work with interest, to work with attention. So this is my passion, which means that I like to do this work with a lot of interest. So when we speak about have passion for your work, we mean in the second sense, right? Have interest, have attention, have the clarity of how to do the work. That is doing work with passion. And when we say reduce your passion, अपनी कामनाओं को कम करो, in the sense, don't think, boss, मुझे आइसक्रीम भी खाना है, उसके ऊपर में क्या है, लड्डू भी खाना है, उसके ऊपर में ये भी खाना है, वो भी खाना है. So all that becomes too much, right? You can have a passion for saying, I want to taste all the sweets in the world. Now, जैसे कि I'll give you an example. In the earlier days of my stay here in Bangalore, and Rakesh would totally agree with me because he's a Bangalorean of a longer standing than me. I mean, I personally like the masala dosa. Okay, here Mysore masala was what it is called. And I liked what is called upma, Karabat. So every hotel I will go to, my first job is, if I want to check the quality of the hotel, I will first order Mysore masala and Karabat, right? ये दोनों खा के ही छोड़ना है. So I had a passion कि हर एक होटल का ये बताऊं कि काराबात कैसा है और मैसूर मसाला कैसा है. Correct. So whenever, that is, no matter what I'm doing, if I pass by a new restaurant, I will stop there, even if I've had my food only half an hour ago, because that is a new restaurant. I will have masala dosa and karabat. So you can imagine that it is just multiplying your desire, right? And the consequence of that is I put on so much weight at that point in time, which I'm still finding difficult to shed. तब का भरा हुआ weight जो है अभी निकालना मुश्किल हो रहा है. So that is what you mean by reducing your passion. अब there's a limit to the amount.
जिसको हिंदी में कामना बोल रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल. I had used that word also, कामना नहीं होनी चाहिए. I mean, limited. Whatever is basic requirement you must have, but not. That's why he uses the word wild desire. So it is a wild desire to want to eat the Karabat of every hotel in Bangalore. Correct? Wild desire, absolutely wild desire, sir. क्या फालतू का डिजायर लेके रखा था. 2 साल मैंने I would have experimented with no less than 100-150 hotels. यहाँ का काराबात अच्छा है. I should feel proud. अरे वो होटल, वहाँ का काराबात अच्छा है, वहाँ का मैसूर मसाला अच्छा नहीं है, वहाँ का सांबार अच्छा है. ऐसे करते करते यार मेरा वेट जो है 100 के ऊपर चढ़ गया था, 105 हो गया था.
तो उसके बॉन्डेज से छूटना है परफेक्शन के लिए, इसलिए बोला है.
Correct. So you must not be subject to these wild desires because they are not helpful. In the long run, they either affect your mind or they affect your body. Or they affect your relationships, also. Because many people told me, "Bhai, tu itna mat kha." मैंने कहा मैं तुम्हारी नहीं सुनता. Then obviously, a good friend who's advising me sincerely, if you don't listen to him, then will no longer consider you as his good friend. So it can affect a lot of things.
राज, एक हेल्प हमें और चाहिए इस चीज के लिए, जो कि थोड़ी और पढ़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो जैसे आप डिस्कशन के बीच में कुछ रेफरेंसेस बताते हो कि ये चीज कठोपनिषद में भी कही गई है. तो वो रेफरेंसेस के डिटेल कहीं पर चार्टेड है कि गीता में ये बातें किस किस उपनिषद से ली गई हैं और वो उपनिषद में कहाँ पर है? क्योंकि डॉक्यूमेंट्स बहुत डिटेल हो जाते हैं तो थोड़ा मतलब विंडो करके पढ़ने में थोड़ा आसान रहता है. तो अगर ऐसा कोई आप रेफरेंस बताओ तो हमें मदद मिलेगी.
No, so I will send you the link of a book called Concordance of the Bhagavad Gita to Principal Upanishads. ये A. Jacobi का है. He was an Englishman who was an Indologist. So what he has done is he has taken, there are about 6,000 words in the Bhagavad Gita. If you just take you put the words down in the order. So हर एक का he has given a background of which Upanishad it has been taken from. That is word to word. If there is a word which is found in the Upanishad, which is also found in the Gita, or the other way around, whichever word of the Gita is found in the Upanishad, uska ek reference diya hua hai, and you can. So I will send you that. In fact, let me try to send it to you right away. नहीं अभी नहीं, I'll send it to you post.
मतलब ये जो रेफरेंस आप बात जब करते हो ना, जैसे आपने बताया 4 प्रकार के अन्न होते हैं, तो गीता ने श्लोक ने 4 प्रकार का तो कवर कर दिया. आप किसी कमेंट्री में 4 प्रकार भी दिए होंगे, बट वो जब आप तो रेफरेंस आप जब देते हैं तो उसका हमें फिर वो डिटेल कहाँ ढूंढे, थोड़ा सा कोशिश करना पड़ता है. 4 प्रकार के अन्न कौन से होते हैं?
Yeah. So I will pull out those references and I'll send it to you. क्योंकि हर एक कमेंट्री में कुछ ना कुछ रेफरेंस होता है, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन हू द कमेंटेटर इज.
बट यस इट इज, मतलब आप इतने सालों से कर रहे हो, उसको हम मदद लेकर, भाई टीचर से आदमी रिसोर्स इसीलिए मांगता है ना कि वो हम थोड़े टाइम में कर लें. वो टीचर की इतनी बड़ी जो डिग्री होती है हम लोग अभी मतलब प्राइमरी क्लासेस में हैं, टीचर ने पीएचडी कर रखी है, तो ऑब्वियसली हम थोड़ा समझना चाहते हैं कि वो क्या है।
बिल्कुल। So I will pull out those references.
राइट।
काफी सारे रेफरेंसेस हैं, so I'll just pull them out. So what I'll do is 15 चैप्टर में जो रेफरेंसेस हैं कठोपनिषद के या किसी और उपनिषद के, इनफैक्ट आपको राधा कृष्ण में भी मिलेंगे।
हाँ, राधा कृष्णन में मुझे मिला है थोड़ा बहुत, राधा कृष्णन बुक मैंने मंगाया, इसमें थोड़ा थोड़ा पढ़ने में कहीं कहीं मिलता है।
यस यस।
हाँ।
तो मैंने जो कठोपनिषद का जो रेफरेंस दिया था वो रवि, so let me just check, I'll just do, I will take some 5 very scholarly commentaries जो मेरे पास है। स्कॉलरली बोले तो they have a lot of cross references, और 15 चैप्टर के जो क्रॉस रेफरेंसेस हैं उसका मैं एक कंपाइल करके मैं आपको भेज देता हूँ, राइट? सो दैट, एंड आई आल्सो सेंड यू दिस जैकोबी का जो बुक है, ये मैं भेज देता हूँ।
और इस बुक में तो सारे चैप्टर्स का होगा,
सारे चैप्टर्स का है जैकोबी में, बट इट इज नॉट चैप्टर वाइज, इट इज वर्ड वाइज, दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम।
ओके।
व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन सिंपली लुक अप द वर्ड, जो आपका जो पदच्छेद है जो आपको मिलता है वो है, सो पद का मतलब है वर्ड, तो आपको वर्ड ब्रेकअप मिल गया, यू लुक अप द वर्ड इन अल्फाबेटिकल ऑर्डर, शब्दकोश का ऑर्डर में उसमें देखो, एंड देन यू विल नो कि भाई ये वर्ड जो है यहाँ से है, ये वर्ड यहाँ से है, सो ऑन, सो दैट विल हेल्प यू।
एक बात अभी आपने बोली पदच्छेद, तो मुझे मतलब पदच्छेद का इक्विवेलेंट संधि विग्रह इज आल्सो द सेम थिंग ना?
या संधि विग्रह है, या संधि विग्रह एंड पदच्छेद इज द सेम थिंग,
राइट?
डिफरेंस। ओके, सो संधि विग्रह और पदच्छेद, संधि विग्रह करने से पदच्छेद मिलेगा आपको, इन दैट सेंस।
ओके ओके, दैट इज अ प्रोसेस एंड दैट इज द प्रोडक्ट।
और जो पदच्छेद को रख के आप अन्वय बनाते हैं, अन्वय इज अ सेंटेंस ऑर्डर।
या अन्वय, आई अंडरस्टैंड, राइट।
अन्वय इज वेरी गुड, ठीक है सर। और सर सुनील रस्तोगी जी?
नहीं, कुछ ऐसा खास नहीं है, थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन हो रहा था, क्षेत्रज्ञ चैप्टर 13 और क्षेत्रज्ञ इसमें हुआ था, बट यू क्लैरिफाइड। तो
हाँ बस ऐसा है कि एंड ऑफ द डे मसाला वही है, बस जो हमारे व्यास जी हैं उनके पास सिनोनिम एंटोनिम का थिजोरस था, तो थिजोरस लेके यहाँ वहाँ थोड़ा आगे पीछे करके, एंड ऑल्सो यू नो वो सेम वर्ड को भी समटाइम्स ही यूजेस इट इन 5 डिफरेंट वेज, सो दैट इज वेयर द कमेंटेटर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, यू नो यू कैन नॉट फिगर आउट। अगर आपको स्पिरिचुअलिटी माने स्पिरिचुअल एक्सपीरियंस है तो आप समझ लेंगे, नहीं तो अगर आप बेस 0 से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं तो भाई किस वर्ड का क्या मीनिंग है, कहाँ से, उसके लिए otherwise you know it is not like a modern, it's a conversation ना। मैं तो कॉन्वर्जेशन में भगवान गए बोलते हैं, वो बोलते हैं जो मन में आया बोलते हैं, दिल है माने दिल से बोल रहे हैं ना, तो ही इज नॉट लुकिंग एट अरे भाई ये 5000 साल बाद 4 बंदे होंगे उनको समझना है।
हम चाहते पहले कितने लाख बंदे कर चुके हैं, तो
correct, so therefore we need some help from commentators and we have to go by that।
मैं इसमें और फाइन डिटेलिंग हुई है क्षेत्रज्ञ के बारे में, तब तक हम ये सोच रहे थे कि परमात्मा के लिए क्षेत्रज्ञ यूज किया गया है, बट इसमें पुरुषोत्तम और पुरुष अलग कर दिया है।
तो इसमें तो रिफाइनमेंट है, थोड़ा बहुत रिफाइनमेंट है। सो इसी अब जैसे कि हमारे 11th चैप्टर में अगर आप वो पूरा इमेज मन में डालने की कोशिश करेंगे ना, भाई ये भी है वो भी है, तो बहुत कंफ्यूज हो जाएंगे, इन द सेंस दैट यू कैन नॉट क्रिएट दैट पिक्चर इन योर माइंड, तो यू टेक इट ब्लॉक वाइज, ठीक है भाई इतना ही हमें समझना है, इतना ही समझना है, बाकी इफ यू ट्राई टू इंटीग्रेट टू मच योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो आप महात्मा बन जाएंगे ना, तो महात्मा लेवल पे तो कोई भी नहीं है यहाँ पे, सो इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू फुल्ली इंटीग्रेट, यू हैव टू ओनली कीप रीडिंग, तो
यस डेफिनेटली।
हाँ, तो एक दिन बल्ब जलेगा, और जब बल्ब जलेगा तो 2 इंटरकनेक्शंस आ जाएंगे, तो वही है भगवत गीता, दैट्स व्हाई इट कीप्स यू गोइंग थ्रू आउट योर लाइफ टाइम ना।
इसमें स्पेसिफिकली यूज किया है अश्वत्थ वृक्ष के लिए, कोई स्पेसिफिक रीजन है अश्वत्थ वृक्ष का?
हाँ, वो स्पेसिफिक रीजन ये है कि उसको उसका डेरिवेशन में आपको बताता हूँ, कहाँ गया भाई, 15वां, तो ये जो है एक संस्कृत का एक जो है फ्रेज है, न अश्व अपि स्थित इति, न अश्वः इति अपि स्थितिः, माने जो चीज एक दिन भी स्थिर नहीं रहता उसको अश्वत्थ बोलते हैं।
अच्छा,
तो ये जो पेड़ है ये एक दिन भी स्थिर नहीं रहता का मतलब ये है कि इसके पत्ते झड़ते रहते हैं, यू नो, सो इट इज नॉट द सेम ट्री यू विल फाइंड। आज हमने इस पेड़ को देखा तो कल वही पेड़ नहीं दिखेगा, बट ब्रॉडली वी से ये जो है इट इज अ लॉन्ग लिविंग ट्री एंड येट इट कीप्स चेंजिंग। तो इन द सेम वे संसार जो है बहुत लंबा चौड़ा है, फिर भी बदलते रहता है, बदलता नहीं है, माने इसमें जीव आते रहते हैं, माने द प्रोसेस ऑफ बर्थ एंड डेथ इज गोइंग ऑन, वो तो चलते रहता है, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं है। एंड येट आर द सेम पीपल बीइंग बोर्न? नो नो नो, सम पीपल आर वेटिंग समवेयर ना, उनका एक वेटिंग रूम रहता है ना, तो इट इज नॉट द सेम आत्मा, करेक्ट। तो आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग, यू नो, आज जब हम बात कर रहे थे डिलीशन का, डिलीशन के बाद इट गोज टू रिसाइकल बिन, और रिसाइकल बिन में कितने दिन बैठकर तो रिसाइकल बिन से बुलावा कब आएगा यू डोंट नो। तो रिसाइकल बिन इज अ टू टाइप, एक तो होता है
परमानेंट डिलीशन नहीं होगा, परमानेंट डिलीशन नहीं हुआ है, रिसाइकल बिन में है।
हाँ बिल्कुल। तो ये जो रिसाइकल बिन है इसके दो टाइप हैं, एक तो स्वर्ग है और एक नरक है। तो जिस रिसाइकल बिन में कांटे ज्यादा हैं वो नरक है, जिस रिसाइकल बिन में जो है मीठा ज्यादा है वो स्वर्ग है। तो फिर भी आपके टाइम के बाद आपको इट इज द रिसाइकल बिन। इनफैक्ट दैट इज द बेस्ट एग्जांपल ऑफ स्वर्ग एंड नरक, वो परमानेंट नहीं है। तो सुनील जी, अगर आपको यंगर ऑडियंस को समझाना है, उनको बोलना है स्वर्ग और नरक तो रिसाइकल बिन है, अच्छी तरह समझ लेंगे।
नहीं, बट देखिए, पर इस कंसेप्ट में एक बात ये आ रही है कि रिसाइकिल बिन अल्टीमेटली डिलीशन की तरफ टेंड करता है, जबकि ये वाला रिसाइकिल बिन जो गीता में समझाया गया है ये पुनर्जन्म की तरफ टेंड करता है। और अगर आपको पुनर्जन्म से बाहर जाना है तो फिर आपको वो करना होगा जो आप चैप्टर 14 में कहते हो कि गुणातीत बनना पड़ेगा।
हाँ, तो आपको जो है रिसाइकिल बिन से परमानेंट डिलीशन में जाना पड़ेगा।
या तो इसलिए या तो हमारा ऐसा हो कि रिसाइकिल बिन बैकअप लेने से पहले का प्रोसेस हो बट समाओ ये सिमिलरिटी जो है, इसीलिए मतलब मैं इस पर सोच रहा था। और बात तो रिसाइकिल बिन एक्चुअली हम लोग को अल्टीमेटली बाहर निकालने की प्रोसेस नहीं है, वो जो स्वर्ग नरक वाली प्रोसेस है वो तो पुनर्जन्म वाली प्रोसेस है, एटलीस्ट इन हिंदी फिलॉसफी, एटलीस्ट इन हिंदू फिलॉसफी। वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफीज में ऐसा है, वेस्टर्न फिलॉसफीज में रिसाइकिल बिन बाहर निकालने वाला है, और वो फाइनली डिसीजन उसके बाद देंगे, जब रिसाइकिल बिन के बाद प्रोसेस देंगे कि अभी दोबारा लाना है कि फाइनली आपके, मतलब वो कहते हैं ना कि फाइनली आपको कयामत के दिन सब उठेंगे और सब हम डिसीजन देंगे।
नहीं, एंड एज पर द इस्लामिक वर्ल्ड जो जन्नत है उसमें तो रिसाइकिल होना ही नहीं है यार, वहां पे जाके परमानेंटली बैठ जाना है आपको,
परमानेंटली बैठ जाना है।
हाँ 72 हाउरीज मिलेंगी ना वहां पे। हाँ, उनको छोड़ के कौन जाएगा?
नहीं, तो वहां पे जो इंसेंटिवाइज किया गया है वो इंसेंटिवाइजेशन वो जन्नत की हुरों का है, जबकि हम लोगों को जो इंसेंटिवाइज किया गया है कि तुमको इस चक्र से मुक्ति मिल जाएगी।
सर इसीलिए तो हम लोग सनातन धर्मी हैं।
तो मतलब इंसेंटिव देने का तरीका ही अलग है यहाँ पर।
बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल, इसीलिए इनका एकदम अलग है। Now let me turn to Rakesh. Rakesh, yes, you had some questions when we were planning to do this.
Correct. You know, it was mostly the concept of the tree. वो उसको जितनी बार पढ़ो उतनी बार जो है वो थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूज ही करता है।
So what you should do is you should simply उस ट्री को उल्टा मत समझो, you take it to be regular tree. तो आपके भगवान जो है वो अंडरग्राउंड है, वो दिखते नहीं है। बस वही है। तो अंडरग्राउंड भगवान को देखने के लिए आपको बहुत प्रयास करना पड़ता है। That is the only thing. Everything else is only something that is manifest. You know, आपको देखिए ये कहा गया है कि वो पेड़ के पत्ते जो हैं वेद हैं। भाई वेद की किताब को आपके हाथ में है, वेदों की किताब को हाथ में रख के आप थोड़ी अंडरग्राउंड ढूंढ सकते हैं। So in that sense, even the Vedas are not a guarantee for you to understand the underground. So therefore, the best advice is take the tree to be regular tree, but take the functions and understand. So all the things which you cannot, which are in, जो यहाँ पे जो बोले ना, जो अव्यक्त है, जो पुरुषोत्तम है, उसको आप रूट समझो, एकदम डीप डाउन. तो डीप डाउन है, पुरुषोत्तम है. So yeah, so the thing is there are very many analogies, and when you start mixing one analogy of one chapter with the analogy of the other chapter, just like we did Kshetragya and Kshetra, then we did Purusha and Prakriti, then we did Paramatma and Atma, then we did Brahman, and now we are doing Akshara Purusha, Kshara Purusha, and Purushottama. So these are all the same things, and then we did Ashwatha tree. So it takes a few readings to get familiar with the funda of these things.
करेक्ट. दूसरा अपना साइंटिफिक माइंड है तो उसको खोदते रहता है वो, मतलब खोदना ठीक है लेकिन जरूरत से ज्यादा खुदाई होने पे वो.
And then you cannot find perfect analogy with modern science, because it's just an image for you to understand. किसी ने ये नहीं कहा कि they have not done the one-to-one mapping. See, what we tend to do is, tree है, ट्री का रूट ये करता है, ब्राह्मण ये करता है क्या, वेद ये करता है, तो जो ट्री का पत्ता में फोटोसिंथेसिस होता है, तो वेदों में फोटोसिंथेसिस कहाँ है? So you cannot do that too much. So beyond a point, it does not make much of sense. Okay. So Rajesh, finally over to you.
बिकॉज राजेश ने मैसेज लिखा है कि आरओ मैकेनिक आया हुआ है, तो शायद राजेश ने वीडियो इसीलिए ऑफ किया है कि आरओ मैकेनिक आया है.
आरओ मैकेनिक आया, अच्छा. तो हमारे सुनील आर तो निकल गए. आई थिंक ही हैड, आई डोंट नो, ही जॉइन बैक.
अभी कुछ और पूछा राजशेखर, कुछ और पूछते हैं इसमें. ये मुझे थोड़ा सा ये बताओ कि जो क्षेत्रज्ञ है ये इसी के पार्ट कहे गए, अक्षर पुरुष और क्षर पुरुष एंड पुरुषोत्तम, ये तीन पार्ट जो है, क्षर पुरुष, अक्षर पुरुष एंड पुरुषोत्तम.
सो देखिए, मेरी राय में, ये राय है मेरी पढ़ने के बाद, ये जो क्षर पुरुष है ये क्षेत्र है, लेकिन उसमें पुरुष क्यों बोला है पता नहीं. डोंट आस्क मी दैट. ओके, मेरा मैपिंग ऐसे है. और ये जो अक्षर पुरुष है ये क्षेत्रज्ञ है, और जब सभी क्षेत्रज्ञों को मिलाया जाता है तो वो पुरुषोत्तम है. तो ये मेरा मैपिंग है. कुड बी राइट, कुड बी रॉन्ग, बिकॉज कहीं भी मुझे मिला नहीं इसका. लोग छोड़ देते हैं ऐसा मैपिंग करना. तो औरोबिंदो ने काफी लिखा है, तो अगर आप औरोबिंदो का चैप्टर 15 का कमेंट्री पढ़ेंगे तो आपको थोड़ा बहुत मिल जाएगा. लेट मी जस्ट सी वेदर प्रोफेसर रवि रवींद्र ये क्या कहते हैं. So basically the 15th chapter is indicating that there is a very intelligent force called Purushottama which drives the universe, which is not visible at all to us, and only if we are spiritually highly evolved will we be able to experience Purushottama. So that is the Uttama Purush, Uttam Purush. So, I mean, just to give you, I'll just read one commentary. Krishna reminds us that the sun and the moon do not shine because of their own energy. It is the light of Krishna that shines through them. It is his energy that nourishes all the plants and enters all the beings as life force, prana, leading to breathing in and breathing out. There's a great mystery worth pondering and worth returning to again and again. Does my organism breathe, or is it being breathed? Interesting way. Is there some device inside me which is making me breathe, or am I breathing? So we don't know. Right? So that's why Krishna says, I am lodged in the heart of all. And Krishna says he is beyond even the Akshara Purusha, therefore he is called Purushottama or Uttam Purush. He who understands this most mysterious teaching of Krishna adore him with all their being. बस इतना ही कहा. सबसे बड़े प्रोफेसर ने भी यही कह दिया. So the thing is that now this guy, as I said, I think I had read his CV to you. PhD, Professor Emeritus, Dalhousie University, Halifax, Professor of Comparative Religion, Philosophy and Physics. So beyond a point, you know, it's very difficult to explain a few things. Leave it at that. वो चैंटिंग पे करने से उसका एनर्जी आता है, बस उसको छोड़ देना. 15 chapter. In fact, there is a very great spiritual lady named Vimala Thakkar. She used to Vimala Thakkar, आप देखिए. So in her commentary on the Gita, she has not commented on the last 6 chapters. That is 13 to 18 comment नहीं किया है. Saying जो कृष्णा को बोलना था उन्होंने फर्स्ट 12 चैप्टर्स में बोल दिया है, बाकी सब बकवास. It's a point of view, because it is too difficult to understand, too difficult to explain, too difficult to visualize, especially when you come from the 13th chapter, no, Kshetra and Kshetragya. Then you try to understand, Guna and Gunatita, that is in the 14th chapter. Then you try to understand Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha, and Purushottama. Okay, that is also a little difficult. Then 16th chapter is easy. Of all the chapters, 16, ye asur hai, ye dev hai. That we can understand very clearly. 16th chapter is easy to understand. 17th again is fairly okay, because you have, Shraddha Traya. What are the kind of Shraddha you have? 18th chapter is summary. So the 15th and the 13th chapter are the two difficult chapters in the last set of 6 chapters. That's what we need to understand. And commentators don't do full justice. They,
और ये हम ज्ञान योग की कैटेगरी में रखते हैं ना, 13 to 18 ज्ञान योग में रखते हैं.
Yeah, 13 to 18 is Gyan Yoga, of which actually 13 and 15 are the highest Gyan Yoga, which is so difficult that nobody can explain fully. I mean, you can explain to a certain extent, but with perfect clarity, perfect matching, perfect and all that, nobody does. ऐसे ही छोड़ देते हैं. So it is worth reading again and again, actually. So if you're very, very interested, you read it again, then something you'll understand. Read again, nothing else.
वैसे किसी ने डायग्रामेटिक मॉडल्स बनाने की गीता की कोशिश की है? ऐसी कोई पुस्तक बनाई है किसी ने?
नहीं सर, मैं बना रहा हूँ सर. You have seen those diagrams that I have shared in a few of, I'm calling them yantras.
Could you see some of my diagrams?
No, I have not, boss. Honestly, I have not been able to.
मैंने अभी जो आपको भेजा है उसमें कुछ डायग्राम एफर्ट किया है.
हाँ, you must do that, because in fact I have 2-3 I started this diagrammatic representation many years ago. So we need a lot of people to put in their mind. It's not easy.
Yeah,
if you take many of them, so everybody has to put in their understanding, put it in the form of diagram. Because if you, in fact, I think all of us should try to put it in form of diagram, because surely we have the logical sense to, find out, what idea relates to what idea. So, in fact, Sunil Rastogi saw that book, Gita Subodhini. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there is a correlation that is being made with, between shlokas. So that is one kind of correlation. These 5 shlokas, this is how the flow chart is. So that is one kind of diagrammatic correlation. The other kind of diagrammatic correlation is within the shloka itself. When you have concepts in the shloka, one is a precursor concept, other is a consequence. So cause and effect. Then you have attributes. You can do that, but all shlokas are, in fact, I was doing that. You can do it very well. 3rd, 4th and 5th chapter, 6th chapter also. 7th, जो भी भक्ति के chapters हैं, उनमें सारे फंडे गुल हो जाते हैं. You cannot make a diagram at all. Very difficult, very difficult. I found it very difficult. So if at all you want to take up a challenge, I think you should take up chapter 7. Chapter 7 का आप diagram बनाओ जी. In the very process of making.
मेरा chapter 14 का मैंने attempt किया है, आपको भेजा है, जरा एक बार देखकर मुझे feedback.
I will take a look at it. I will definitely take a look at that.
मतलब मैंने श्लोका के सेट को डायग्राम में कन्वर्ट किया है. और चैप्टर 14 मुझे तो रिलेटिवली आसानी लगा, क्योंकि सीधे सीधे गुणों की बात की गई है और 3 टाइप के गुण के बाद गुणातीत बता दिया गया है.
Yeah. So chapter 14 is amenable to some diagrammatic representation.
हाँ, तो
When you
ऊपर
have very
मुझे लगता है कि
abstract
औरों के भी
ideas.
बन जाएंगे.
You can do that. So definitely, I think it is a very, very commendable effort. मैं बिना देखे ही बोल रहा हूँ, लेकिन मैं देख के आपको बोलता हूँ.
नहीं, और मैंने जो इनके आपके जो गीता मकरंद में जो आप जिस तरह का अभी आप अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में ग्रुपिंग दिखाते हैं ना, नंबर ऑफ श्लोकास की आप ग्रुपिंग दिखाते हैं, तो उसके भी मैंने ब्लॉक्स बना के और सीधे प्रोविजन किया है कि आप उस ग्रुप पे सीधे जंप कर सको. उस तरह की चूंकि कुछ चीजें मुझे थोड़ा आती हैं, तो उसको मैंने यूज करके कोशिश किया है कि आप सीधे जंप करके इंडेक्स बना लो उसका.
No, actually, classification of shlokas in diagrammatic form is very important. नहीं तो आदमी जो है 18 चैप्टर्स देखता है, 700 श्लोकास देखता है, उसके बाद निकल जाती है. So when you actually see that every chapter has got some theme, some logic, and you interconnect that logic, then each chapter becomes capable of absorption. It is bit by bit, not one full mass. So yes, I will take a look at that. Sorry, boss, I did not take a
नहीं,
look
वैसे
at
चूंकि
it.
मैंने देखा कि सारी फिलॉसफी ऐसी नहीं होती है जिसको सिंपल डायग्राम में प्रेजेंट कर पाओ, क्योंकि उसमें इवॉल्विंग कंसेप्ट होता है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल ये बात कही गई कि गुण में कोई गुण कम होता जाता है, कोई बढ़ता जाता है, तो अगर मुझे एनिमेशन बनाना है तो इट बिकम्स क्वाइट ए जॉब. तो इसलिए उसको सिंपल डायग्राम से दिखाना कभी कभी मुश्किल भी होता है.
So anyway, I think I do have some reference of a mathematician who has used the partition theory in algebra to create how the gunas are found in what proportion in people. So I've seen that paper somewhere. So and there is another German disciple. He is from ISKCON, where he has used the first chapter as the basis of understanding decision theory. I think that is somewhere, I think someone showed it to me, I don't know, in this group only. So a lot of people have done interesting things. The only thing is that we have to be good in our area so that we can put it into Gita. If I'm good at flow charting, then that ability is what will manifest. If I'm good at decision making, then I will see decision making everywhere. So that is important. मैं देखता हूँ बॉस, I am not seeing it, to be honest.
मेरा आपके 18th चैप्टर के बाद एक प्रपोजल ये है कि जैसे अभी आप हमको असाइनमेंट देने का प्रयास किया था, आपने शुरू में कुछ किए भी, उसके बाद हम अपने अपने कामों में लग गए, तो मेरा ये प्रपोजल है कि जो आगे के जैसे हम लोग 5-6 लोग हैं, वो मतलब जो अपनी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो शेयर करें पूरे सेशन में. तो 4-5 सेशन हम लोग आपस में एक दूसरे की अंडरस्टैंडिंग शेयर करें. जैसे प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं ना, जैसे आप अपना डेजर्टेशन दिखाते हैं, उसका प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं, तो
the moment you are getting ready to present, let us say we take chapter 15, okay? So we say that भाई आज जो है chapter 15 का presentation राकेश जी करेंगे, ठीक है? तो राकेश जी जो है एक हफ्ता जो है अपना सिर पीटेंगे, कुछ करेंगे, you do something, you will understand it far better. I'm telling you, 100% guarantee है. जब आप कोई भी चीज सिखाने जाते हैं, आप देखिए, there is nobody here who has got perfect understanding. Okay. Whatever you understand, if you articulate it, you will understand far better. So I think that is what we should do. We should do it in, and since we have the patience, at least among the 5-6 of us, we have the patience to listen to each other. So that is what we should do. We should actually have everybody doing one chapter or the other. So you take the chapter of your choice. You take, of course, second chapter and 18th chapter तो हवा निकल जाएगी, because there are 72 shlokas and 78
बड़े भी हैं,
shlokas.
बहुत बड़े हैं.
But we can start with smaller ones, like 15, like 13, like the 14th chapter, which is 24 shlokas, like the 17th chapter, which is what? 28 shlokas.
12th भी आसान है.
12 भी आसान है, so we can do. So the longer chapters we can break, so let us say we take chapter 2, we can say, first to 10, Sunil ji, you do, then, this to this you do. So, I mean, boss, I'm telling you, I learned the Gita more by talking about it than by actually reading it. भाई मैं ये सब क्लास क्यों करता हूँ? मुझे समझने के लिए करता हूँ. In the sense that it clarifies in your mind, as they say, if you teach somebody, you truly know.
Right.
Correct. So you must do that. वो करेंगे, definitely करेंगे. After 18 chapters, we'll do. Because I think you also hit upon one very, very important point, which is Bhagavad Gita itself. We look at various facets of the Gita. We can go into Upanishad, but that is opening up one more big, huge story.
Pandora
I
box.
think Pandora's box. So we can as well stick to Gita, learn it better and apply it better, because the more we internalize, the better it is for us. Probably what I will like to do is immediately after 18 chapters over, I will do the 42 shlokas of the Gita chosen by Ramana Maharshi.
Very good.
He chose 42 shlokas, put it in one sequence. And that sequence is the core of the Bhagavad Gita. So I think we will do that. We will do that because if you understand those 42 shlokas, you understand the whole of Gita, you can explain other things very well. So I think we will do that. We will do that. We will spend a fair amount of time. Uska bhi commentary hai, main bhejta hu main. We will do that. That's my suggestion. And then we'll take up each chapter. So 42 shlokas may take maybe 1 or 2 sessions to do. It is worth doing because in any case, we are all going to gather, once a week, whether on Friday or on Sunday. इतना तो वही एक साल में कायम हो गया है कि सब लोग जो हैं इतने भी जो हैं busy नहीं हैं कि एक दिन में 1 घंटा spare नहीं कर सकते. So we will definitely do that. And then as Sunilji was saying, we will meet face to face whenever I come to Delhi. Or we meet for the choral meeting कब है सर 2023 में क्या है
23 में तो कोरल के बाद कोरल तो हो चुके हैं 23 में हम लोग को 40th एनिवर्सरी मनाना
तो 40th एनिवर्सरी का नाम क्या है कुछ है
वो ढूंढना पड़ेगा अभी नाम नहीं रखा है अभी नाम नहीं रखा है
होगा कुछ ना कुछ नाम होगा
कुछ रख लेंगे वरना तो हम लोग रख लेंगे कुछ नाम रख लेंगे वरना
so definitely I will come to Allahabad hopefully God willing and we'll go to Lucknow also so that will be great ठीक है sir so on that count I have to do a lot of homework मैं आपको ये references देना है और आपका जो है presentation देखना है और उसको करना है I'll do that so we'll catch up now
और राकेश आप कुछ वो लिंक्स का सेट बना रहे थे ना मैंने पूरा चैट आपको लिंक भेज दिया था
हाँ मैं कर रहा हूँ उसको
अच्छा
अरे साहब क्या कोरोना में से डाउन हो गए अभी जो है
अरे ये हॉस्पिटल से मुझे यही काम बता रहे थे कि मुझे ये काम करना है मुझे हॉस्पिटल से ये इंटरेक्शन लगातार कर रहे थे राकेश
नहीं मैं करूंगा उसको मैं धीरे धीरे करता जाऊंगा
So Rakesh, since so were you able to share with him the entire WhatsApp conversation right from day one? Acha, Sunilji is on the call.
Yes, he has sent me that.
Oh, he sent you that. Oh, wonderful, yeah. So that's absolutely great. Okay, so we'll see how to proceed with that, and then we will catch up. Hopefully next Friday only rather than Sunday. But I think Sunday is helping Deepak Yadav to join in. Na? But Sunday, I wanted actually free for something else. That's okay. We'll do it on Friday.
2 points I just want to add. I was away for some time.
Right.
Okay. You have rightly pointed out that tree analogy drawn with the human life, the tree. I used to read the speaking tree of the Times of India. Whenever some stressors troubled me, I used to get energy from that speaking tree write-up editorial. So, and other things as existence of God in digesting our food. So that I relate with the home position. Our origin is only the God and ultimate is also the God. So I relate with my previous organization, CNC machines thi badi ho. So what happens ki long program chalte the. Long program mein power trip ho gayi. Power trip ho gayi to tool bhul gaya ki kahan the. So then what we have to do the machine to bring back the tool and bring the machine into home position. Once machine in the home position, then only reads the coordinates. Otherwise it is confused. So I feel we should be the home position with the God. So we'll feel solace. So I just have a clear-cut understanding from my point of view.
Yeah, good.
You pointed out today.
Good.
Very good, sir. Excellent. So on that count, thank you so much for sharing our ओरिजिनल होम, जैसे वो धाम बोलते हैं, भगवान का धाम।
नमस्कार।
भगवान का धाम जो है CNC मशीन में भी है, इतना तो आज हमने पाया।
वेरी गुड।
So on that count, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will catch you again next week. I'll send you the invite.
Okay.
Take care. And the homework required. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Fair enough.